You open the fridge. It is full. It has been full all week. And yet some quiet part of you still checks it, out of habit, out of something older than habit. You are not hungry. Not really. But you look anyway. Why? The easy answer is boredom. The real answer is far stranger. Your brain is running software that was written for a world that no longer exists. And no matter how many times you fill that fridge, a part of your body still doesn't believe you. Your ancestors did not know where their next meal was coming from. Not sometimes, not occasionally, almost always. For most of human history, food was not a given. It was a gamble, won or lost by weather, by luck, by the location of a herd that might not show up at all. Scarcity was not an event. It was the baseline. Your brain evolved inside that baseline. It did not evolve for abundance. It evolved for uncertainty. And uncertainty leaves a mark. Think about what that means for a moment. Every system in your body that governs hunger, fat storage, and craving was shaped by ancestors who sometimes went days without eating, not as a diet choice, as a fact of life. The body that resulted from that pressure is not built to handle a world where food never runs out. It is built to prepare for the next famine, even when the next famine may never come. This is where the story gets interesting, and it starts with a very unusual scientific event, the Dutch hunger winter of 1944. During the final months of World War II, a Nazi blockade cut off food supplies to parts of the Netherlands. For several months, calorie intake for the population dropped to a fraction of normal levels. People survived on tulip bulbs and beet scraps. Pregnant women were not exempt. Decades later, researcher Lambert Lumet and his colleagues began studying the children born to those pregnant mothers. What they found reshaped how scientists think about hunger itself. The children exposed to famine in the womb were not just smaller at birth. As adults, they showed higher rates of obesity, diabetes, and heart disease. Their bodies had been altered before they ever took a breath. Starvation experienced by the mother had changed how the child's own body would one day store fat and crave calories. This is called epigenetics. Plain English version: your genes are like a piano, and your environment decides which keys get pressed. The notes don't change, but which ones play, and how loud, absolutely can. Famine pressed a key in those unborn children that said, essentially, store everything you can. Assume scarcity is coming. That single instruction, encoded before birth, followed some of them for the rest of their lives, even in a world of full supermarkets. Here is the twist. That instruction is not just something that happened to a small group of Dutch babies 80 years ago. It is a preview of something written into all of us over a much longer timeline. Anthropologist James Neal first proposed something called the thrifty gene hypothesis back in 1962. His idea was simple. If your ancestors survived cycles of feast and famine, then the ones who stored fat most efficiently during the feast were the ones who made it through the famine. Over tens of thousands of years, that efficiency got selected for, generation after generation. You are, quite literally, descended from history's best fat storers. Not the strongest, not the fastest. The best at hoarding calories when calories were briefly available. That trait was once a survival advantage. Today, it collides head-on with a world of drive-thrus and all-you-can-eat buffets that never run dry. Does that sound familiar? A brain built for scarcity, dropped into a world of permanent abundance? There's a second piece to this puzzle, and it lives inside your brain's reward system. Neuroscientist Nora Volkow, who has spent decades studying the brain's relationship to reward, has shown that sugar and fat activate the same dopamine pathways that drive drug cravings. That is not a metaphor. It is the same circuitry. Why would your brain wire something as basic as sugar to a reward system that intense? Because for most of human history, calorie-dense food was rare and valuable. Ripe fruit, animal fat, honey. If you were lucky enough to find a hive and brave enough to fight the bees for it, anything sweet or fatty was a jackpot, worth remembering, worth craving, worth going back for. Your brain learned to light up for that jackpot because the ancestors who felt intense cravings for calorie-dense food were the ones who sought it out and survived to pass that craving down. The ones who felt lukewarm about a beehive full of honey didn't get the same evolutionary advantage. Now flip to today. Calorie-dense food is not rare. It is everywhere, engineered, and cheap. But the ancient reward circuitry has not caught up. It still treats a candy bar like a rare and precious find, worth chasing, worth craving, worth remembering. This is not a story about willpower. This is a story about mismatch. Your body is not broken. Your body is doing exactly what it was built to do. The problem is that the world changed far faster than biology could. Consider how fast that change actually was. Agriculture, which gave humans their first reliable food surplus, is roughly 10,000 years old. Industrial food production, the kind that put a grocery store within driving distance of nearly everyone in the developed world, is barely a century old. In evolutionary terms, that is not even a blink. Your hunger system had hundreds of thousands of years to adapt to scarcity, and less than 100 years to adapt to abundance. It hasn't had time to catch up. It may never fully catch up. So what does that mean for you, standing in front of an open fridge that is already full? It means the urge to check, to snack, to crave something sweet after a stressful day is not a personal failing. It is an old alarm system going off in a building that no longer has the fire it was built to detect. The alarm still rings. The fire is gone. But the wiring doesn't know that. This is also why fasting, feast cycles, and irregular eating patterns can feel strangely intuitive to some people, and why other people find that same unpredictability triggers intense anxiety around food. Different ancestral pressures, different epigenetic imprints, different responses to the exact same modern environment. There is no single correct way your body should feel about food because there was never a single correct food environment your ancestors all lived through. What research like Lumi's Dutch hunger winter studies and Neil's thrifty gene hypothesis point to is not a flaw to be fixed. It is a mirror. Your cravings are a message from a version of humanity that no longer exists, still trying to protect a version of you that no longer needs that exact protection. Understanding that doesn't make the craving disappear, but it does something else. It changes what the craving means. It stops being a character flaw and starts being a historical echo, a signal passed down from people who could not afford to ignore a full beehive or a herd that finally showed up. You are not weak for wanting the sugar, the snack, the extra plate. You are ancient. You are the descendant of people who survived by wanting exactly those things at exactly the right moments in a world that rarely gave them the chance. The next time you find yourself standing at that fridge that is already full, checking it anyway, notice what's actually happening. It isn't hunger, it's history. It's a body still bracing for a famine that, for you, may never come again. You close the fridge. Nothing has changed inside it, but something in you already has.